your mind. So this unit, you're going to be put into different groups, and you're going to be involved in a lot of research and exploration, and we're going to be taking walking tours and really diving into why is Hudson so great. So the history of Hudson and maybe how it's changed over time. So we're going to let these guys who know a lot about Hudson, and that's what they do for fun, right? That's their job, is they love educating you on what makes Hudson so great. So I want you to be really good listeners. Okay?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for coming to listen to us. My name is Mr. Olson, and I'm president of the Destination Hudson Board. And we have a visitor center and fire museum in the town hall. And the reason we're here today is to introduce you to some people who are very involved in the community. And you're going to listen to Chief Varnes, who's going to speak about our Hudson Fire Department and EMS, and not just hear about how many fire trucks or personnel he has, but hear about what makes Hudson so great through his organizations. And then the other groups will come in, and they will meet with other people who are involved in other aspects of what makes Hudson great. And it's all being filmed, so you'll all get to see all of it. So please welcome Chief Varnes.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? Have a good day? Good to see everybody's awake. Feeling good today? Well, I was asked to come here today to talk about one of the many reasons that Hudson is a pretty great place to live. And the reason that I was asked to come was to talk about volunteering. You can tell me what volunteering means. Does anybody have an idea? What do you think volunteering means?
Like volunteering to do something, like to help our community, like picking up trash. Like you don't have to do it, you just choose to.
Exact, perfect answer. You do it because you want to. You're not usually being paid to do it. You're not being told you gotta do it. It's not a job that you have to go in and do every day. It's something that you want. You have another description of what volunteering is?
It's kind of like just say you want to do something and there's another thing you want to do, you can volunteer.
Right, you pick the thing that you want to do. Exactly right.
You don't have to do both.
Right.
They're not making you. You can just choose.
Perfect. Well, the reason that I'm here today is I'm the chief of two different groups, the Hudson Fire Department and Hudson EMS. And you know, fire department, we put out the fires and rescue people. The EMS, they're there to take care of you if you're sick or hurt. And so it's my privilege to be the boss of both of those two organizations. And they all have volunteers on them. And it's something that it's pretty rare for somebody to want to volunteer to be a firefighter, because think about it, who wants to run into burning buildings? It's just not something that everybody wants to do. So we'll talk about me a little bit here, just so you have an idea. I've been in Hudson my entire life. I was born here. I went to school at McDowell School. So all my kids have gone to school here at McDowell School. I have 3 kids. So I have a very long history here in Hudson. I've been on the fire department for 39 years now. And so I've been around for a little while. And I just love Hudson. It's a great place to be. Just to show you, I've wanted to do this for a long time. This is me as a little bitty 2-year-old sitting there. This is one of our antique fire pumpers. And that's me as a 2-year-old sitting in the back of one of our little fire jeeps. So just show you that it's in my family. My great-grandfather was a fire chief 100 years ago, right here in Hudson. 100 years ago. So for 100 years, we've been volunteering to help keep Hudson safe. So that's a lot of fun for me. That's, again, me as a little bitty boy. And then when I got a little bit older, this is my dad. He was the assistant chief. And that was me at my first fire. So they have a picture of us together at my first fire. That was pretty neat. This is my great-grandfather I told you about. Back in 1916, he was the village fire chief. And now 100 years later, I'm the fire chief. So pretty. We talked about what's it mean to be a volunteer. Why would you risk your life to be a volunteer? That's not something that you think about. When you're volunteering, most people think, oh, it's fun. It's you're giving back to the community, like you said, something that makes you feel like you're making a difference, doing a good thing. So risking your life for no money, for not a job, just because you want to volunteer, that's kind of a hard thing to ask people to do. Yes?
Because saving your people in your community.
That's exactly right. Being able to give back to the community, to be able to give back to the people, whether it's your family, your neighbors, your friends, people that live in the town, somebody has to do it. Somebody has to be there to help out when there's danger happening. So, who are these volunteer people? So let's talk about that. These are all the jobs that our volunteers on Fire and EMS currently have. We have doctors, nurses, pilots, professors in college, people that own businesses, veterans from the Army, the Marines, and the Air Force, city workers that are allowed to leave their job to come to a fire. We have firefighters that are a full-time firefighter somewhere else, and on their off days, they want to do it more. So they come down and volunteer at the fire department. Engineers, plumbers, electricians, all those people, even police officers. I have a police officer, he's a Hudson police officer, and he's a Hudson firefighter, and he's a Hudson EMS EMT. So he does all three, and that's pretty amazing. Some other statistics about firefighters. We have some 19-year-old college kids that are firefighters, all the way up to age 63 years old. We're getting pretty close to the maximum age you can be to be a firefighter, because you have to be pretty strong, you have to be able to carry heavy things, and you have to do a lot of things that are physically hard to do. And so it's not a job for your grandpa to do. It's something that usually you have to be a little bit younger to do. And we have fathers and sons, we have brothers and brothers and sisters, all on the fire department together. Just like my great-grandfather, my dad, my brother, my uncle, myself, all being in the fire department. It's something that a lot of families like to do together. And lastly, in the history of the fire department, we started all the way back 1842. So we've been a fire department for a long time. Out of all those years, only about 350 people have been volunteer firefighters. So the firefighters that come in love to do it. They stay for a long time, and they're able to protect. So it's a pretty exclusive group of people. Reasons why we talked about giving back to the community. You want to volunteer, you want to help your neighbors. Some of the reasons, exactly what you guys said. The first thing on the list, helping to protect our friends, our family, our community. To be able to get trained to respond to any kind of emergency. Think about it, right now, anything could happen. We could have as simple as a little bitty car crash to a train crash, or anywhere in between, an airplane. Any of those things could happen, and we have to be able to protect all of you and go out and save the day and do what we need to do. So we've got to be trained to work on all those different kind of incidents. You never know what it's going to be, so you got to be prepared all the time. Being able to be taught those skills, like I said, it's not something that most people like to run into burning buildings. So we have to teach you how to know how to be safe inside a fire, have the right equipment, and be able to make your brain go, no, I'm going to go in there. I'm not going to turn around and run away. And it's pretty unusual because over half of the people that join the fire department don't stay because they can't do it. They can't change their brain. They can't run into those situations. They're afraid of blood. They're afraid of heights. They're afraid of tight spaces. Whatever it is, they just can't do it. And so they're there for a few weeks or a few months, and then they can't do it. So once you find somebody that can be a volunteer firefighter, it's a pretty unique person, pretty special. And the most important thing for me is the family. Like I said, I've been doing this 39 years. I have a whole nother family, people that I can count on. If I need help with anything, I know that I can call any of my firefighter friends, my EMS friends, call them up, say, hey, Bill, I need some help. Boom, they're right there. They're just like family. So to be able to take, instead of mine, I'm one of 11 kids, so I've got a pretty big family to begin with, but now I have 45 more firefighter friends and 50 more EMS friends that make me have a pretty big family. That's almost 100 people that I consider real close personal friends. And how many of your friends do you think you could trust your life with? That they would save you from anything, protect you, do anything to help you. It's special to have somebody that you can trust your life with. And all of these firefighters and EMSers we can trust our life with. And one of the last things that you said was that respect and the pride in the community, be able to give back to the community. Firefighters are pretty well respected. People in the community think we're pretty good people, and they trust us a lot. And that's a pretty special thing to feel that your neighbors and your friends and the people that you see, you're helping them when maybe they're having their worst day ever, but they trust you to make it better. And that's pretty special. Preparing to become a firefighter. You guys can start preparing now. Remember that first picture I showed you of me as a little bitty 2-year-old? I knew I wanted to be a firefighter, but it was kind of in my family. But preparing to become one, you guys could start now if you wanted to. Listen to your teachers, learn from your parents, pay attention to stuff, because you have to be pretty smart to be a firefighter. You have to be able to learn pretty well, so learning the learning skills that you're taught right now by your wonderful teachers here. Be able to understand how to follow rules that maybe your parents or your teachers or the school gives you. So learning that, being curious. I bet you're all curious in this room here, but ask questions, because as most of us know, you can't learn unless you ask questions usually. So if you've got a question, you can ask it and get somebody that knows the answer to be able to help you out. And learn how things work. Firefighters are very, very talented at fixing things, using special tools that nobody else knows how to do or how to use. And so being able to have, we call that mechanical skills, but being able to use your hands and do things. So if mom or dad are working around the house and dad's got to change a tire, or mom's working on something in the house, maybe even on the computer or whatever, you can watch them and learn and offer to help out so you can figure out how those things work. You have a question? Yes. I actually know him very well. The UFC champion. He is from Valley View Fire Department, and he's a firefighter. So he's the big champion boxer in the whole country, the champion boxer. So you have a question?
This is kind of like, don't like firefighters, if someone gets stuck in a car, they I've seen these pictures that they use.
It's called the Jaws of Life, and yes, we have 2 of them on 2 different trucks. That way, if we have 2 accidents at the same time, we can do that. So that's very true. You have to be able to go and rescue people that are trapped in cars. Here's the thing that you guys can do right now. If you try new things, to learn new things, whether you've joined the Cub Scouts, the Brownies, the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Indian Guides, any of those things, they teach you fun things. Anybody in the Cub Scouts or Girl Scouts or Brownies or anything, a lot of you already are doing those fun things, and it helps you do different things that you don't normally do, and so you're learning more things. I know in Boy Scouts, because I teach the class, there's a merit badge for first aid, and there's a merit badge for firefighting, to be able to learn how to light fires and control them correctly. So those are things that you can do that help you prepare yourself to be a firefighter. Just some of the other things you need to be able to do to be a firefighter. You've got to be able to speak well, because we speak over the radio a lot when we're in fires. And if I say, Chief, I kind of need a little, I need a little bit of help. By now, the fire's already gotten out of control and nobody can come get me. So you have to be clear, we call it clear and concise. You got to say what you need, say it quickly, say it loud so everybody hears you and understands what you want with the least amount of words. That's what we call communication skills, both in person and on the radio. So we talk kind of quickly, but we try to say the important message as quick as we can. We talked about working on the computer. You guys, you're lucky. When I was in McDowell school, we didn't have any computers in the school. Computers were not something that we did when we were raised. That was much later in school that we get into computers. So being able to learn and become proficient, I bet you a bunch of you probably have iPads. Does anybody here have a cell phone? Look at that. Look at cell phones. My goodness, I didn't have a cell phone until after I was out of college. So it's amazing that you guys have phones. Being able to drive large fire trucks, I bet you a lot of younger people think that's the coolest part of being a firefighter, is being able to drive a big fire truck with the lights and siren, go fast. I can drive through red lights. I don't have to stop at stop signs. But I'll tell you, it's one of the most dangerous things that we do, because driving a fire truck with lights and siren and driving fast, which we have to do, is a very, very dangerous thing. So you have to be very good at what you do to be able to do that. Knowing your town, imagine if I got the call that says, go to 1234 East Haven Drive, and I don't know where East Haven Drive is. And now I've got to get my map out, and maybe I can't read very well, maybe I don't know how to use a map very well. That would make it much longer for me to get there to help you out. So we have to know where all the streets are, how to get from here to there, and what if we're going there and the road is blocked? Maybe a car's broken down, a truck is blocking the road. We have to know multiple ways to get there. So learning your town and being able to get there is important. Being safety oriented, we're always watching each other's back. Make sure that your friend isn't getting hurt, your family member isn't getting hurt, and your fellow firefighter is safe, because sometimes you're focused so much on what you're doing that you don't see the fire above your head or the fire behind you. So we're always trying to watch out for each other. And healthy lifestyle. You can't be a smoker very well and be a firefighter, because we have to wear our air packs. You've seen that on TV, the mask over your face, and we're breathing oxygen. And people that smoke can't breathe very well wearing one of those masks. It's hard for them to breathe. And so we don't have anybody that smokes in the fire department. And we've had some people that have given up smoking to join the fire department. And it takes them about a year for their lungs to be able to work well in those masks. So it makes you a little bit healthier. Some of the things you can't be afraid of. You got to be able to climb ladders, go all the way up to the roof, all the way to the top. You know that big water tower behind the Acme store, that great big tower up high? We climb to the top of that, and we take a rope hanging over the side and we rappel off the side of that water tower. That's one of the practice things that we do. I find it to be one of the coolest things, because I love heights. There are some people that are scared to death. They can't even get over the edge. And so climbing heights, imagine how tall that is to be able to step off and just slide down the road. So it's fun. Tall heights are good. Claustrophobia, that's when you don't like tight spaces. Like imagine being in the closet in the dark. It's real close by, it's real narrow. It's hard. Some people find it hard to breathe. They start to panic a little bit. And wearing that face mask on your face and crawling into a dark house that's on fire, searching for somebody, is very claustrophobic for somebody. The whole time worrying that you could catch on fire if something goes really wrong. So that's not something that you can do very well if you're claustrophobic. You can't be a firefighter. You got to be able to tolerate the fire and the heat and the smoke, understand it, know how to work with it and get around it. Can't be afraid of the dark. And we do a lot of hard work, and so you can't be afraid of hard work, because you won't last very long in the fire department. Thunder and lightning. Is anybody afraid of thunder and lightning here in the room? I bet you a couple of you are, yeah. We have to be out in the thunder and the lightning. Tornadoes. We have to be outside rescuing people while the thunder and the lightning and the heavy rain and the wind and the storms, all those are happening. So when the storm happens, somebody gets hurt, we can't wait inside and go, no, I'm afraid of lightning, and not go out. So we have to be able to tolerate that. And imagine blood, broken bones, all the icky things that you have to see. I bet you there's some of you that are afraid of blood. It makes you sick, you're not really happy with it. So you can't be a firefighter if you're afraid of blood. All right, some of the challenges of being a firefighter. All right, class. We have to be away from our family a lot. And my kids will tell you they understand, they love the fact that I'm the fire chief, but I bet you when I have to leave my son's birthday party, or my wife's anniversary dinner that she worked so hard to cook, or Christmas morning. I've missed 10 Christmas mornings in 39 years going to fires to help people. Because we can't just say no. No, I'm staying home, it's Christmas. And that's really sad to have to see your kids' face knowing that dad's got to leave, but it's something that they understand. And so that's hard to do, but it's something that has to happen. And risking our life. We're trained, we're very comfortable with what we do, but if you don't pay attention and do it right, you are risking your life, and those unexpected things, that's not really good. Time away from your job. Remember one of those early slides, all those people? A doctor, imagine how much money that doctor makes. And if he's gone all day to fire, he makes nothing. So he's losing thousands of dollars of money to be able to come volunteer to fight a fire or rescue somebody. So not getting paid, that's one of the hard parts, especially for younger people that maybe aren't in a position to have a savings or whatever. These college students, I have 3 of them that they don't have very much money saved in the bank. And if they can't go to work that day because they're at a fire, it costs them enough money that they can't put gas in their car the next day. So it's something that it's a really big step to be able to take the time away from work and come down and become a volunteer. The things that we see, we talked about the blood and the broken bones, but there are some of the most terrible, terrible things, and I'm not going to go into the details, I'm not going to show you pictures, but they're pretty bad. And it's not something that everybody needs to see. It's not something that I wish you guys could see, because it's just not a pleasant thing. It's not fun to see somebody that's burned or somebody that's hurt really bad. So that's a terrible part of the job. And the health risks. You guys don't think of it now because you're young and healthy, but firefighters, unfortunately, are 8 times more likely to die of cancer because of the smoke and stuff that happens at fire scenes. When I first started at the fire department, we didn't wear those air masks. Now we do. But unfortunately, all the things that I breathed way, way back when I was a much younger firefighter, they're finding them now, that they're hurting your body. And so the cancer and the health risk is not a good thing. Let's switch over to Hudson EMS a little bit. I told you I'm also their chief. That was started, instead of back in 1842 like the fire department, it was started really recently in 1977. Before that, the funeral home sent a hearse out. You guys know what a hearse is? A big station wagon thing that has the casket in the back. That's what came to get you. My little sister actually was delivered in a hearse by my dad on the way to the hospital because there was no ambulance. So they came out, no training, put my mom and dad in the back of the hearse. She's laying down and she has the baby while driving down the street going to the hospital. So kind of a special thing between my dad and my little sister, but not quite the fun thing. Today we have nice, big, clean, sterile ambulances, and it's not quite as difficult as it was for my dad. We have volunteer EMTs and paramedics that are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have 2 ambulances available because almost 50% of the time when we're on one call, we get another call. So we have 3 ambulances, one is a spare, but we always have crews for 2 ambulances. And when the 2 are out, we call anybody that's free that can come down, who come down and volunteer a little extra time to be there with the 3rd ambulance. But it's really there for when one's broken. We have a spare ambulance. And we do over 1,500 ambulance runs a year. So that's a really busy time. We only do about 800 fire department runs a year. So almost twice as many times we're called out to do an ambulance run, from as little as a cut finger to as significant as somebody having a heart attack or something like that. So we do a lot of ambulance calls. Being a volunteer EMT or paramedic, it is one of the coolest things in this world to be part of a team that's responsible for saving somebody's life. We just talked about heart attacks, people that are choking, somebody that needs your help right now. Because if you don't help them right now, in less than a couple minutes, they will die. And that's a pretty heavy responsibility on somebody. But it's something that we really like. That compassion to be able to give back to the people that need our help. That makes you feel really good that we have a lot of compassionate people that are on the EMS that are willing to do that. We train them. I send them to school. We train them. You've got to be able to do everything, every kind of illness or injury. We have to be able to take care of. The best part is being part of, we talked about that family, that special team of people that we get to save lives. I put babies in parentheses at the end there because honestly, the coolest thing, I've been lucky enough to deliver 11 babies in my lifetime. The coolest thing I've ever done. I've been lucky enough to be there and save a whole lot of people. That's pretty up there too, but nothing fills your heart as much as delivering a baby. And I'll share a quick story. We're doing pretty good on time, so I'll share a quick story. It was one night, it was snowing out, it was really deep snow. In the ambulance, we went out on a call, and the ambulance was backing out of the driveway, and they got stuck. And we were waiting for the tow truck to come pull them out. And we got another call. Fortunately, I was the paramedic in charge, so I was driving another car, a little four-wheel drive Ford Explorer. So I went to this call by myself and delivered a baby by myself. This woman is home, the husband calls, he's down in the garage talking to the police officer. Oh, she thinks she's having a baby. I walk upstairs and she's delivering the baby right in front of me. And so I was able to be there and deliver my first baby, deliver the baby by myself, wrapped her up in a Budweiser beach towel that was laying there on the bed. And for the next 30 years, every day on her birthday, that young lady called me and thanked me for being part of bringing her into this world. And it was really cool. And when she got married, she invited me to come to her wedding too. So, really special part of being an EMS person is being able to do that. Let's, away from the volunteers a little bit, let's talk about, say, the history of the fire department. How we started. All the way back in 1842, some neighbors and friends said, you know, we don't have a fire department, we need to start. So they started the first fire department in all of Summit County, before any of our big towns, before Akron or any of the towns around us had one. This was just 13 different people that said, yeah, we're going to get together and learn how to be firefighters. And they took a wagon and put a ladder on it and some buckets. And then in 1849, they started the official Hudson Fire Department, and that ran until 1934. Then there were some political issues, and they had a township fire department and a village fire department for 4 years. Then they all got together and decided to have one, and then they started the Hudson Volunteer Fire Department from 1934 to today. And it's something we're very proud of, to be able to go all the way back to 1842 is our volunteer roots in this town, and to be responsible for being able to be here to help people and be there to help make Hudson safe. It's pretty fun to be able to have that and be part of it. Here's a picture. You guys are gonna, I believe most of you sometime soon are gonna go on a little field trip, and you're gonna get to stop by and see the new fire museum. Here's a picture from back in 1905. This is where the fire museum is today. We were over the last couple of years, we worked with the Destination Hudson Group and turned the town hall back into a portion of it, the fire museum that it is today. You guys are going to get to come down and see it, I think. So that'll be neat. And here's our old hand pumper. That's an 1859 hand pumper sitting in front of that old fire station. Just want to show you that picture. Now, who knows where the clock tower is in Hudson? Have you seen the clock tower? Well, right across the street from the clock tower is this building. And this is a picture from 1889, and here's our hand pumper. It's coming back from a fire, and there happened to be a photographer there, and he took a picture of the hand pumper and a picture of the ladder wagon coming back from that fire. And to be able to have, the building is still there, the hand pumper is still there, the firefighters are still doing our job. We've been doing it for a long time, but look at this, dirt streets. There were no pavement, no concrete or no blacktop on the streets. The sidewalks were made out of wood. They just had planks that you walked on. Horses, you can barely see it, but that's a horse tied up to where they're taking a drink out of a horse trough. And here's a dog and a cat, and they're pulling the hand pumper back from the fire. It's normally pulled by horses, but on that day they didn't apparently have any horses to pull the fire trucks. So it's kind of neat to see all the way back then, from today, 2016, all the way back to 1889. We still have a picture of that. That is that hand pumper today inside the fire museum. It looks that beautiful. It still works. Did anybody come to the ice cream social and see that old fire truck there? We take it out, you guys can pump it. Has anybody done that? Do you remember doing that ever? That's kind of a cool thing, because that was the first fire engine in all of Summit County. So we bought that, and it still works, and we still have it. You have a question? It was repainted in 1963. Interesting story. It was on loan to a historical society in Akron, and the building caught on fire, and the fire truck got burned. And so my dad read about the fire truck getting burned in a story in the newspaper. Went down, found it sitting outside, all covered with soot and rain and water raining on it and everything. And so he put it in the back on a trailer. And remember that picture, that first picture of me sitting? That was the day it came back from that fire. And you could just tell it was a little burned up. And so they took care of it in my garage at my house when I was a little 2-year-old boy. My dad and all of his friends in the fire department repainted it, made it look pretty, but that's the same paint that they put on in 1963. So it's looked that way ever since then, since after the fire. So fortunately they were able to fix it and it didn't get burned up all the way. So we were pretty lucky. These are 2 fire trucks sitting in front of the town hall, which is now the fire museum that you're going to see. And this one, this truck right here, is called the Seabrave, and that is that truck today. And it is sitting in the fire museum, and it still works, still looks beautiful. This truck here, the one that was next to it, this one here is called the Aaron's Fox, and today that is in a museum in California. They spent over $250,000 repainting it, making everything. They gold-plated a bunch of the parts in the truck. It's now one of the most expensive antique fire trucks in the world, and it's in a museum out in California. So we've taken our little bitty fire truck from Hudson, and it's gone a long way out into California. This is one of our other antique fire trucks. You've probably seen that at the ice cream social. We swapped that in and out at the fire museum, but it's a really beautiful old fire truck. You don't see them shaped like that very much or anything, so that's why we like to keep it, and we've had it for a very long time. This is what our 2 newest fire trucks look like. Those 2 trucks, each one of them is $500,000. I had to save a lot of money for a long time to pay for those. We just got them last year, and those are all paid for by your mom and dad paid taxes to live here in Hudson, and those tax monies I'm responsible for figuring out what's the best way to spend them, and we save, and then we have the money, and then I was able to buy those 2 new fire trucks. Some big things, significant incidents, that's a big word. It basically means big things that have happened, bad fires, bad calls, something like that that have happened here in Hudson. So downtown Hudson burned down in 1892. You all said, most of you knew where the clock tower was. From the clock tower all the way down to the Route 91 and 303 intersection, the great big street intersection downtown. That entire block burned to the ground. And it was all because a man came out of a bar, back then they called them saloons. He came out of the saloon and he threw a cigar on the ground and it bounced into a bale of hay, caught the bale of hay on fire. Bale of hay caught the building on fire, and this was 2 o'clock in the morning, and it burned the whole block down. Here's what it looked like after the fire. So that's all that's left of that. And remember I said that building where we had the hand pumper behind there by the clock tower? That's the building up there. The clock tower wasn't even there yet. They built that clock tower after this fire in 1892. 1911? 1912? What was the clock tower? 1912, so it wasn't even, but the clock tower sits right here. So you're looking at it, looking up the hill on Route 91. So that burned all the way to the ground. And if you remember, all those are wood buildings. And so there was nothing to stop them from burning down. We only had that one hand pumper fire truck, and it couldn't put the fire out. It got so big because it was late at night, and that person that threw a cigar down didn't know that it jumped into the hay bale. So he walked away, and 3 buildings were on fire before anybody saw it and woke up the firefighter, rang the fire bell to wake up the firefighter. So it was way too late. So they were all on fire and burned it down. And they even called, by then, Akron had a fire truck, but that was the only other fire truck around. They put it on a train, and by the time the train got here, it had burned all the buildings down, and just as they were pulling that off the train, the rain hit. Huge thunderstorm rain, and the rain put out the fire. So if the rain hadn't happened, the rest of downtown would burn, because from the clock tower going up the hill, that's another block of Hudson that didn't burn. And the fire stopped right there where the clock tower is. So they were very lucky. And they decided when we rebuild, we're going to rebuild it out of brick, so it doesn't have as much of a chance to burn down. I don't know how many of you are old enough, but just a couple of years ago, a neighboring town called Garrettsville, their entire downtown burned down. And that's in today's world, with all the fire trucks and people that we have to put out the firefights, but they still had the old wooden buildings like that. And by the time the fire got noticed and the fire department got there, it burned over 40 buildings down. And so it was a scary thing, but Hudson really thought ahead and said, we're going to rebuild it out of brick. And those are the buildings that look like it today. So the clock tower would be sitting right here. So those are those buildings right along Main Street, exactly like. And when you come down and go for your walking tour, you're going to walk either downtown or go for a field trip. When you get to the clock tower, turn and look at the buildings, and you'll recognize these funny windows and the scallops up the top. You'll see all those because they're still there. The buildings still look exactly like that. So that's some of the history. This was the other great big fire. This was the fuel gas explosion. This was, anybody know where the post office is? Have you ever gone to the post office with your mom and dad? So right across the street, there's a big empty park. And that park was the fuel gas plant back in 1970. And they filled, you know, the white tank on your barbecue grill outside that your dad or mom opens up to cook on the grill. That's what these things are. And there are thousands of them there, and even bigger ones. And what people don't realize is that tank on your barbecue grill, if it is heated up on fire and explodes, it has the power of 170 sticks of dynamite. That's how much power is in one of them. And we had over 1,000 of them explode. So if you do the math for how big the tanks were, how many gallons, and how many of them exploded, by the time the fire was done, over 350,000 sticks of dynamite blew up. Very, very special that this town is still here, because something very important happened. We talked about volunteering. This tank right here had 40,000 gallons of propane, and it was on fire, and we couldn't move it. We tried to move it with our fire trucks. We tried to move it with a tractor that was owned by the city, and they couldn't move it. But back then, there was a factory in Hudson called the Terex plant, and they made these great big earth-moving machines. And a gentleman by the name of Homer was down at work, and they said, Homer, can you bring one of your great big Terex earth mover front-end loaders up? He came up, and backed that in. He wasn't a firefighter. He didn't have any training. He didn't have any gear. He backed it into, while that thing was on fire, and hooked a chain around it and dragged that rail car out of there. And afterwards, this all went to court, and they testified about how bad the fire was, and if this propane tank had blown up, 3 miles of Hudson would have been gone. This school, gone. Every house between here and downtown, gone. That's how powerful that propane tanker car was, with 40,000 gallons of propane in it. And here's a guy who's not a firefighter, he's just a worker at a factory, volunteered to risk his life to save his community. Really, really special that somebody would take that chance to do that. So I thought that was really important to talk about that, because that's another way you can volunteer. You can volunteer to step up when nobody else can do it. He had a special skill. He knew how to drive that earth mover. My dad didn't know how to drive it. He was there at the fire, but he didn't know how to drive that thing. So this was the one man that was there that knew how to do it, and he risked his life. Now I'll share, this is a little bit sad, but I'll share that. The thing that makes this fire so special to me, this car right here, that was my next door neighbor. And my next door neighbor, Bob, and his wife, Bonnie, and his 2 little baby girls, they were in that car. And they drove down there, and when he touched his brakes, the spark caused the explosion, and they were all killed. And so, as a little 10-year-old boy, to lose your next door neighbors, your best friends, and I was a babysitter at the time with 2 little girls, so a little 2-year-old and just a very young little bitty baby were in the back seat of that car, and they died in that fire. And what's so special, this is a picture of my dad, and he was at that fire. And to be able to understand that he risked his life to try to save the rest of the community and be part of that and stop this from blowing up, because if these 2 tanks or that rail car blew up, like I said, I wouldn't be here running.
Oh, 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes, thank you. I wouldn't be here, the school wouldn't still be here, all those things would be gone. So really special, terribly, terribly awful fire. This is, people ask me a lot, what was the worst, most afraid I've ever been in my life? And when I was a brand new fireman, I had only been on for about 7 months in the fire department, and that is the bridge over the turnpike. That's a big highway that we go on. And have you guys seen those big semi-trucks that put gas into a gas station? The gasoline tanker?
Yeah.
Gasoline tanker crashed, and we pulled up, and I was in a fire truck right here when that explosion happened. And that's 12,000 gallons of gasoline. And people say, oh, look how bright the light is. That is a river of gasoline running off the side of that turnpike on fire. And it's running down the bridge towards the fire truck where I'm at. And I've never been more afraid in my entire life. And fortunately, our driver, one of my friends, a good seasoned firefighter, knew to get us on the truck and back down. We had to tear the hoses off the side of the fire truck, and he just backed down as the river of flames is coming towards us. And fortunately, he got us off the bridge just before the flames got to where we were. That was definitely the most scared I've ever been. Who knows where Acme is? The front building in front of Acme, if you look at it today, it looks just like that because they rebuilt it, but it burnt down. There was a big fight between the people that were building the building. You probably don't know what a union is, but union workers were fighting with non-union workers, and they set the building on fire to be mad at somebody, and it burned down. And this is our snorkel truck up in the air squirting water, and you can't see me, but I'm up in that basket fighting that fire. So that was a terrible fire that we had in town. Fortunately, nobody died. And here's a house fire that we had recently. I was the officer in charge, and I pulled up and I took that picture as I pulled up. That's what it looked like when we pulled up there. So that was one of the biggest house fires that we've had in a long time. And then this was the most recent bad fire that we had. Again, I was the officer in charge, and that's when I pulled up. That's what it looked like, and the garage was on fire. So, anybody have any questions I can answer? Yes?
So, how many liters would 12,000 gallons have?
How many liters? There's almost 4 liters in a gallon, if I remember correctly. So 12,000 times 4, 48,000 liters or so. I'm not best with liters, metric math, but I think that's about it. Yes? You have a question?
So would you be a firefighter?
I'm sorry? Can women be a firefighter? Can ladies? Is that what you said? Or what you said? I'm sorry. Kids are talking, I can't hear it. Say it one more time.
Why is it awesome to be a firefighter?
Why is it awesome? Okay, sorry. It's awesome to be a firefighter because you get to save people, you get to help people, you get to protect your family, and it's just a great job. It's fantastic because you have a whole other family. Yes? We can. We're allowed to go 10 miles an hour faster than the speed limit. The law says I'm allowed to do that. Yes?
My friend, there was a house that caught on fire next to her house, and then it caught half of her house.
Was that here in Hudson? Yeah.
My dad's house caught on fire.
Okay. Well, since we don't have enough time, I thank you. That was a good story. Let's go. Questions only, no stories. Anybody have another question?
How recent
Write down, guys.
How recent was the biggest fire that was this year?
The biggest fire this year was about a month ago. Yeah, so it's been a little bit of a time since we've had a big fire. And that was 3 cars were on fire at the same time. And so that was probably the biggest recent fire. No, that was by the church. I know which one you're talking about, but no, that was just one car. Anybody else have a question, not a story? You have a question?
Yeah. Wait, how many big fires have you worked?
Well, I've gone to about 500 big fires in my career. We only have 2 or 3 big fires every year that in this town, but we go to, we get called what they call mutual aid to go to our neighboring towns when they have big fire. So we go there. We don't have many people die. We haven't had somebody die in a fire in more than 20 years.
They do such a nice job saving them.
We do, we try really hard to save them. You have all the way in the back. What's your question?
So your neighbor's baby died?
Unfortunately, yeah, the whole family died in the car. That was very sad. You. Yeah, you.
What the fire pumper that's in the fire station, do you still use it?
We don't use it for fires, we use it for parades. Okay, we'll go one last question because we're out of time. You.
Have you ever thought someone's over-exaggerated to call 911?
Oh, it happens all the time. I cannot tell you. That's called the dispatchers who answers the 911 call. We get calls, when are the fireworks going to happen next Saturday? And they're calling the emergency 911 phone to find out when are the fireworks going to happen. We have people that call in, we call them false alarms. They say there's a fire, but there really isn't, because they just want to see the fire trucks drive down their street. They get in trouble, they can go to jail for that. So that's called misuse of the dispatch 911 system, and there's laws against that. Okay? Well, thank you everybody. You were very attentive, nice and quiet. I appreciate it. It was my pleasure to come see you guys today. I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much.
What do you say, Brad? Thank you.